Alrighty, guys, it is 3:30 this Monday, October 27th, and it's time to wrap it up. And it looks to me like we got a pretty freaking good day going. This morning, we started off with a big gap to the upside. We started with a long side of the market. The big question was really, are we going to get some weakness from the get-go and then try to close this gap in profit taking, or are we going to see further continuation? It looks like continuation, guys. Looks like we're definitely moving this higher. And so we'll stay with it. And that's traded from we started by looking to buy weakness down to these two support areas, the 66.80, no, sorry, 68.80s and the 68.65s for rotations back up again. And we have to go to 68.80s, and that was about it. So far, we're hanging via this up here at the highs, looking to move this higher. Now we can certainly get a sell-off into the last 10 minutes, but I'm thinking long side of the market going into this and look to buy weakness, adding the 68.90 level now, and then we'll see where they end up closing. So starting from the long side, looking to buy weakness for rotations up. Looks to me like the market is taking this higher. The only thing I know coming out news-wise this week is the Fed announcement. I think that's still on. And of course, earnings. A lot of tech earnings coming out this week, so yes, watch for that. So far, the earnings report has been good enough for the market to just keep going with the flow and heading higher. No trades on the ES for me today. I did one trade on the Nasdaq this morning. That was a one and done kind of a trade. It was one trade there for 47 bucks. And I did this move here down at the when they first retest. Actually, it was the third retest. They came up here. So they came up here, retested, third retest. I got short, a little grinding motion to the upside. You see this very often. And I just got shorted against this one. I had a little bit going. After I got a little bit of profit, I tightened up my stop and then let it sit here. And then pretty much we are going to head lower. And I got out at the tab, pulled it right back down here, headed out, and pretty much started looking at early profit, if you wish. And so far, the market is holding on, grinding higher from there. And at that point, I figured there's no point of staying on the short side. So you had a couple of fake outs here right around that time frame. You could get faked out on the upside. They ran it a bit lower, or if you try to get short on this one, you got short, you got stuck on this one. So staying on the long side, that's been the ticket. Now, I would understand the short trade, but if you're going to take a short trade on this one, we had to do it either early or on that rotation back up here again. See if they can take this higher. So that's kind of where we are on the Nasdaq. Still way up here now into the 25,900s and moving higher. Bond market, same story there. So trade this guy from the long side. We said we had the same analysis on the Nasdaq going into this going into the started the session. We never got much weakness to buy against, but there has been steady to the upside, and I would just stay on that one. We'll see if we get a little bit of selling going into the close. That could certainly happen, and if that happens, just kind of live with it. Unless they start taking out the lows here, which I don't think they will, we're going to be in pretty good shape. Bond market up. The traded higher, yields coming down. That's interesting that the more bond market is flight to safety. This is not a flight to safety play. This is just the bond market trading higher. So I would just stay with this one, and I would stay range bound. I would stay on the long side of this still, as long as they hold this level, the 1806s and 1812 to 14s. Probably going to maybe move it a tad higher. We have the mean at 16. That's a good number to lean against. So I'm going to readjust these going into tomorrow. But I would stay probably a range bound with a slight bias to the upside going into the overnight on the bonds. Yes, and Nasdaq just stay flat on the long side of those two until they show that there's some weakness coming in. So just one trade on the Nasdaq so far today, 47 bucks on that one. And then oil and gold, and this is the interesting one. Oil is not so much. Yes, that's kind of range bound, not much happening on oil. However, gold way down, and they are definitely looking like there's an opportunity there for them to further correct. And as you said this morning, if they took out this support there, the 40, where are we at? The 40.23s here, that support area, we were in good shape to potentially take this lower, and they did. They didn't quite blow out the 4,000. They just probed below it, and then they were up here, reverse retesting 4,023 again. And remember, we talked about that in the last update. That could be a nice reverse retest, and yes, it was. Nice reverse retest, setting up right at that resistance area, and down we went. Now getting short against that, they have plenty of opportunities. If you could stick with it, these bars are pretty big. So basically 21 up to 25, like 30, 40 ticks each bar. It is difficult to trade this. So I have not traded it just because of that reason, because it sits there, does nothing, and then it moves like 10, 15 points in a bar, and it's just impossible to trade that. There had to be real deliberate. And if you try to get short up here, having you stop outside that rotation, that's the best that you can do. But I mean, you would start twisting in the wind for quite a while before it develops. So I would just be absolutely, I probably would have been scratching that trade if it wasn't going anywhere. And once it finally goes, it just, yeah, it's difficult. So I would say range bound oil going into the overnight, stay short on the short side on gold. If they take out the 40.23 to the upside, I would be back. I would be back on the long side on gold. But at this point, stay on the short side until they take out that 23 level. All right. So there, back to the ES, and we are uh, pretty much where we left it. So we'll see how this whole thing closes. Nasdaq shows a little bit weaker than the ES. ES looks like it's just charging ahead. So. Anyway, we'll wrap it there. So that's what we did so far. On trade on the Nasdaq, that's all I did so far. And the market's been yeah, pretty impressive how strong it has been holding up here. But that's just remember, if anything comes out, could be a headline coming out of this Middle East meet and the Middle East this Asian meeting. If something goes sideways or goes off the tracks on that Chinese deal, this whole thing comes apart pretty quick. As you know, just pay attention to the headlines and what's going on in the news. All right, guys, I'll see you back tomorrow morning and we'll go at this again. All right, guys, later.